the higher levels, and not even everyone in Division I. Like, it's not normal to throw 65. Like, that's not super common. I think that social media can make it feel super common, but it's not. Like, and what's your game speed? It's probably different from what you just posted on Twitter anyway. But changing speeds and hitting your spots literally will keep you successful every single time.
At the field, in your car, or on your couch, get your fast pitch info from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Once again, joined by my man, my good buddy, Ken Kraus. Ken, how you been doing?
Doing great, Jay. How you been doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just got back this Sunday from Iowa. Had games all weekend. Excited to do this podcast here from the coach's mouth. So again, thanks for everybody tuning in today. We've got an awesome guest today. Cannot wait to get and talk some pitching today. So Ken, how was your weekend? Pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was real busy. A lot of lessons. I was pretty tired. And then on top of it, my wife and I had to run like right from lessons. I got changed there, ran over to a thing called Wine About Winter, which was, it's a thing in the neighboring town of Libertyville where you go in, you get a little glass, and then you go from shop to shop, all these little shops and stuff. Each one of them will give you a little pour of different wines, and you kind of walk around the shop. As you can imagine, there weren't a lot of XY chromosome people there. So that was kind of funny. It was mostly women, but I managed to get through it. You get enough of the wine going, it feels pretty good. And then
Absolutely.
We joined up.
Just the wine alone sounds like a good time.
Yep. And then we joined up with a couple of other couples. So awesome. That made it a little bit easier. So at one point we were walking around, and the guys and I, we were all going like, woodworking, bow hunting, just saying manly things.
Okay. Awesome times right there, buddy. So do you want to do us a favor and give some background on our awesome guest today?
I sure do. All right. Well, we feel fortunate to have the opportunity to speak to today's guest, a native of Peoria, Arizona. She was a 2011 NFCA First Team All American and ESPN Rise Under Armour All American in high school, who accumulated 413 strikeouts and an .044 ERA her senior year, while also tying the Arizona career home run record. She went on to have a stellar career playing for Florida for 4 years as a pitcher and a first baseman, culminating in a Women's College World Series title in 2015. In that same year, she earned many individual accolades, including being named the Honda Award winner for softball, the USA Softball National Collegiate Player of the Year, the SEC Female Athlete of the Year, the Women's College World Series Most Outstanding Player, the SEC Pitcher of the Year, and All SEC First Team. She is also a two-time NFCA First Team All-American and was twice nominated for an ESPY Award. Additionally, our guest holds the distinction of being the only NCAA fast pitch player to win 70 games as a pitcher and hit 70 home runs, a feat equaled by only one athlete in history, a guy you might have heard of by the name of Babe Ruth. After college, she played in the National Pro Fastpitch League for 4 years as a pitcher and first baseman with the Dallas Charge and later the Scrapyard Dogs, earning all NPF honors for 3 of those 4 years. She is currently a private coach in South Carolina with her own business, the Softball Project, where she offers pitching and hitting instruction and is a travel team coach. I could go on and on about her many awards and accomplishments, but then we'd never get to speak with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lauren Haeger to From the Coach's Mouth.
Hello. And North Carolina, not South Carolina.
Oh,
but that's okay.
That, see? Yeah.
Charlotte, yeah.
Oh.
We're real close to South Carolina, but it's about 10 minutes from the border, but
okay,
yeah.
see.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's what I get for looking at Google Maps.
Or Wikipedia.
No, I think it was on Google Maps, just the way it was showing up. I must have seen the South Carolina part instead of the part that was north. It's
literally right. It's 10 minutes away. The border is, so that makes sense.
My favorite part is that you took offense to that, Lauren. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that.
Listen, don't put me there. I love Charlotte. I fell in love with this city 6 years ago and I haven't left yet. So yeah, I do love it here.
How'd you wind up in Charlotte?
So I was playing professionally, and when I stopped playing professionally, so actually the owner of the facility is Kelsey Bruder. So she played at Florida as well, but she played 4 years before me. And so she had moved here randomly years ago, like years before I did, started giving lessons and then opened up the softball project. She had asked me, what I was going to do. And I was like, well, I was working for Scrapyard at the time when I was playing for them. So a year later, when I stopped playing, I reached back out to her and I was like, can I give lessons at your facility? And I just randomly moved to Charlotte and I have fallen in love with it here.
All right, Lauren, we're going to get into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So if you can you give us a little bit of background on like where your softball journey began? What age did you start? Those kinds of things. Give us a little bit of your journey.
I think it started, my journey started just like everyone else's. I was a little kid who just loved sports. I had an older brother. So whatever, we're only 15 months apart, so I wasn't too far behind him, but whatever he was doing, I wanted to do. My parents both played college sports. My dad played college football. My mom played college volleyball and tennis. So no softball in there and no baseball in there. So when my brother was playing t-ball, all I wanted to do was play on his team, and I would practice with them and stuff, but I obviously was too little to play. And then eventually I got into my own t-ball coach pitch situation. And ever since then, I think I was 7 or so when I got on my first real team. And ever since then, I haven't stopped playing. I played a couple years of rec and then, started travel ball when I was 10 and I just never looked back.
Awesome. What high school did you play for? Because you were out in Arizona, correct? Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
So what high school did you play for out there, or maybe some travel teams that you started out along with when they were around back then?
Yeah, I went to Deer Valley High School. My dad, I wasn't actually zoned to go to Deer Valley High School, but my dad had taught at Deer Valley High School since I was born. So I was going to go there. And so I got to be around that school all the time. And all I wanted to do was play varsity sports at Deer Valley. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. My dad coached football there and coached so many sports, and so many of those coaches I had known since I was literally 3 days old. They induced me so he wouldn't miss his football game on a Friday night. And I went to the football game at my high school 3 days later. So when I was born, so that's kind of a funny story, is all I wanted to do was play varsity, sports at Deer Valley. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so I played for a couple travel ball teams, but I ended my last 4 years of travel ball with the Arizona Hotshots.
Nice. So when did the pitching thing start? Did you start at 10U and just stay with it the whole way? Or was it like,
actually, no, I was a catcher and I was really short and I was going through my growth spurt and all the things. So when I was 10, I was a catcher and I started having some like foot problems and some knee problems, and I had to be on crutches and I had stress fractures because I was growing, all the things. And my mom and dad were like, no, we're not doing this. You got to pick something else. So of course I picked pitching. I just wanted to be involved every pitch. So I was like, let's do pitching. And so I was actually really late, I feel like, to pitching. I started taking it serious around right before I turned 12, probably. So, I was pretty late to the game. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, your daughter's 10. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. She's way ahead of where I was. So, that's, I think, a little bit shocking to people, is that I was really 12 when I really started pitching in games and stuff like that.
It's probably shocking to people too, to hear that you were late to the game at 12. You think, most of the time for activities like that, kids aren't really going to find their way until a little bit older. But yeah, these days, a lot of kids start at 8. So.
Right. Especially pitching, I would say. Like, people really, think that, oh, she's just starting out and they're 11. And I'm like, that's normal. It's not normal. But they have kid pitch now at 8U. And so I think they didn't have that when I was younger. So that's good for our game. But it's also like, it stresses people out sometimes. And I'm like, it's okay.
Yep.
What about some instructors out there in Arizona? Who did you see for pitching out there, or some of the ones that really had a big influence on you when you did get into pitching?
So I actually started taking lessons from a gentleman named Dallas Coleman. He had given lessons to a few of the girls that I used to play with, but he was the pitching coach at Phoenix College for a while. He was older, so towards the end of my pitching career and only a few years after I left for college, he retired, and he had a farm in Kansas and stuff. So he kind of moved back there. But to be honest, I didn't take a ton of lessons. I was a really athletic kid. I think that was really helpful. I played club volleyball, 3 varsity sports in high school. Like my whole life was sports. And so I think that really helped me a lot, but I wasn't very successful as a pitcher early on. I had a lot of people cut me from travel ball teams because I wanted to pitch, and they're like, "You're going to be our 4th pitcher, all the things, she's just not going to pitch here." So, I really had to work hard on my own. And my dad, obviously, he invested so much time on the bucket. It's not even funny, as most pitcher dads do. I've hit him so many times, I can't even count. But I think that I just worked really hard, and I had my lessons, every once in a while with Dallas, and he would teach me new things, and I would go and I would actually practice them, which is crazy.
Wow.
But
what a concept, right?
What a concept.
Isn't that weird? Oh, so just a half an hour a week's not going to do it? No, it's not. Anyway, so that's kind of like my little bit of a pitching background, but I did get cut a lot because I wanted to pitch, and they were like, "She's not going to pitch here," but I wanted to do it, so I kept doing it.
Awesome.
Well, I think that's a great message, though, too. I think this is really important for people to hear, that you didn't start out being Lauren Haeger. You were just, this girl that wanted to pitch, and that there were so many people who weren't willing to, say, give you the opportunity, because perhaps they thought, well, we can win more games if we use this kid. We're not going to take the time to develop somebody who's a beginner.
Yeah. I also feel like I had genetics on my side a little bit. My dad was an offensive lineman, and my mom played college volleyball. So at some point, you knew I was going to grow. I was like 5'2" in 7th grade with huge feet. It was a really weird time in my life, but I think me growing 8 inches until freshman year really helped me out. That I feel like pitching kind of like came to me a little bit easier just because I was a bigger, stronger kid. So I think that really helped my development and gave me more chances than I think it would have if I just kind of stayed the same.
Any great memories that you might have from playing in your younger days, maybe even high school or travel, that just kind of still stick with you and resonate with you through even now?
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky enough to play in 3 state championships in high school, 2 for softball and 1 for volleyball. Women's sports at my school were very good, and I will never forget those times. I lost a state championship in softball, and then I won my senior year. It was kind of a really big storybook ending, but to be honest, I don't even feel like we were the best team all the time, but I had so much fun. When I was a freshman in high school, I made varsity, and at my school at Deer Valley, that wasn't super normal. We had a full freshman team, a full JV team, and a full varsity team with cuts at all 3 levels. And in North Carolina, that's not a thing. Mm-hmm. And so when I talk about that, it's kind of crazy to think, because that was normal to me, just being from Arizona. So when I made varsity as a freshman, I really wasn't treated very well. So I made sure that when I was a senior, that wasn't going to happen to anybody else. And we just had so much fun. We were all best friends. It was such a fun time in my life, and it was such a fun year. So I'll never forget, like, just high school sports in general. I loved my high school experience. I was really, really lucky. My travel ball coach my last couple years and was my high school coach, so that kind of made it easier too. So just winning the state championship my senior year was kind of like a storybook ending to my entire career there.
Yeah, that must have been exciting. And I would imagine, there's always that cliche thing or the meme thing that goes around that you won't remember the games, but you'll remember the people. I mean, do you feel that way, or do you still have the memories of some of those games, good or bad?
I don't recall any of the games my freshman year, actually. I just remember, kind of like how people made me feel. So it is so true when people say that. I think when I, started to turn into my 30s, those kind of things really stand out in your mind because you can't remember the games you played when you were a freshman. That was 15 years ago at this point. But I do remember there is a personal story from that game my senior year was that I hadn't given up a home run all year. Like that was just not something that happened to me. But we were playing a team from Tucson and I didn't really know any of the girls on the team. But I remember this girl came up to bat. Apparently she was committed to Baylor. So there's that. And I had no idea. She took me hard. So we were down 3-0 in the state championship and we didn't score a ton of runs. Like I told you, we weren't, the most talented group of girls that were just like mashing and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, we crawled our way back to making it 3-3. I don't know how we did, but we did. In the top of the 7th inning, I led off the inning and I hit a home run to take us up 4-3. And then I struck out the side in the bottom of the 7th. So it just made it even sweeter coming back to win that game. Cause I was like, oh my God, did that just happen? Like I really didn't think we were going to come back and win, but I'm so happy my team had my back at that moment.
That's great. Those are, again, always fun stories to hear. So what was your recruiting experience like? Were you heavily recruited given that you were doing so well or, was it harder to be seen?
It was a really fast process for me. I did play on a really competitive travel ball team in Arizona. And so that was easier for me. But, we did the Colorado trip, we did nationals, and back then their PGF didn't exist. So it was just ASA nationals that we went to. And I think it was like first year 16U nationals. I think we're playing in the middle of, oh my gosh, I don't even know, Tennessee or I don't know, somewhere so random in the middle of a cornfield, to be honest. And I was, getting the start of a game where we were playing a team called the Southern Force in Illinois. Mm-hmm. And the Renfro sisters were the pitchers of that team. Jerry Ann Glasgow was on that team. Like it was loaded, right? So this was going to be a really big game. And I'm just some girl I didn't really, to be honest, I never even knew who we were playing. I just was like so excited to play and I'm so competitive. So it didn't really matter. But I remember looking up into the stands and looking to see that there was not a single seat for like a regular person. It was full of college coaches. And I'll never forget looking up and seeing that. And we ended up winning 3-0. And I remember at the end of that game, my coach just had a stack of business cards because business cards was a thing.
Yeah.
And emails really just started to be a thing, to be honest. And so we took that stack of business cards and we talked as a family and I called some schools. I ended up, going to visit 5 schools, which was Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma State. My family's a huge college football family. My grandma had tickets to ASU football games for 40 years or something crazy. I'd been growing up going to college football games. So college football was a big part of what I wanted my college experience to be. So with those 5 schools, I thought I could probably make that happen as well. Texas A&M had just been in the national championship with Amanda Scarborough at Texas A&M that year. And Florida had just made it to the World Series the first time that year. So I kind of narrowed it down. We talked to them all on the phone. They had all offered the same amount of money. And so we just took my college fund that my parents had, saved for me. And we went and took unofficial visits to all 5 schools. And yeah, it just happened. I think, they saw me in the summer of my freshman year going into my sophomore year. And then I was committed by March of my sophomore year. So it really went really fast. That's not everyone's story.
Yeah, that's right. That was back in the day when they were recruiting 8th graders.
True. Not quite yet. I think I was right before the 8th grade. But in high school, yes. Like an 8th grader hadn't committed yet, I don't think. But like 9th grade, like even sophomore year was kind of early. People were like, oh, you committed as a sophomore like back then? And I was like, yeah. But I think pitchers were always a little bit more early than everybody else. Pitchers, catchers, shortstops, that kind of thing. But then it got crazy. The 6th grade thing is wild.
So are you glad that they changed the rules that, at least at the D1 level, they can't recruit you till September 1st of your junior year? Do you think that's a good thing?
I think so. I think I've seen more. I think I've seen benefits in where it's just allowed the girls to develop more. If I was getting recruited, so I didn't even pitch till I was 12. Like I feel like I would have been left behind so far if it had gone to that stage when I was getting recruited. But I do feel like now it kind of creates a panic sometimes where people feel like they have to because they're almost done with their junior year and they're not committed somewhere. So I think there's really good things of it, but I see a lot of stress from it too, from the coaching side. But I do just think it's a better way of, these girls maturing mentally. They know what they want more. They're looking into schools more as an adult than they are just as a softball player. And I kind of appreciate that more.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I would agree with you. I think just, I almost felt like when they were recruiting, 7th and 8th graders, that's more of the parents' decision instead of the players' decision. And
I didn't know what I wanted 7th grade. I was like, what do I was so all over the place. No 7th grade girl does that.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Jay still doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. So
this is true. I'm still working
Fine,
on
I
that.
still don't care. So it's all good.
Okay. So you pick Florida. You play 4 years at Florida. You win the national championship in 2015. Can you share some memories from, that special run in 2015 or even prior to that, some of the things, the ups and the downs, and how did it start for you there? Did you pitch every game your freshman year or did you have to, work and wait and work?
Yeah, it was quite a journey, I would say, when I got there. My freshman year, I think they were expecting more out of me than I was ready for when it came to the pitching part. I had always thrown really hard, so the pitching aspect of being a college pitcher, I was not ready. Like I was just not. I threw really hard growing up, so it really didn't matter if I missed. I mean, you're throwing 70 at 16, like it doesn't really matter where you throw the ball at times, but when you get to that next level, it really matters where you throw the ball when you throw that hard. So I think I was good, but I wasn't great. I couldn't get through a lineup 3 times. I didn't have a really great changeup. But luckily we had Hannah Rogers in front of me who really kind of stepped into that role of being the number 1 pitcher. And I would start Saturday. She would start Friday. I would start Saturday. She would start Sunday. We pitched a lot by staff my whole entire career there, to be honest. Right up until the end of my senior year, I feel like we pretty much had a really good rotation going on.
That was kind of unusual then too, wasn't it? I mean, didn't a lot of teams at that point still kind of rely on one arm to get them through the entire season?
I would say yes. I think people had 2, but people didn't have 3 or 4. People couldn't rely on 3 or 4 arms, but we definitely had 3 at least all the time, which was kind of nice. And we were all really different, which I also liked. So my journey up until my junior year was I hit a lot. I played first a lot and I pitched when they needed me to. That's how I kind of felt how it was. But I felt like I was really bouncing around all the time. When I'm early to practice for my bullpen, I'm, now I have to switch to be defense and like have all the defenses in my head. Not that first base is super complicated, but with Coach Walton's defense, it's very structured. It's very clean. It's very the way that he wants it. So you do have to remember more than what I was used to at first base. And then we'd go to hitting, and during hitting, the pitchers probably could leave early, but not me. I was there having to do the whole, hitting thing. So, that's kind of how our practices were structured. And I felt like I was being pulled a lot in different directions. And I did whatever I was told. I did the amount of reps that I was told, but it was hard for me to like do more. And I needed more at pitching for sure, to really get it together. But then my junior year comes around and we were okay. We were doing okay. I mean, we didn't lose a lot of games. So when I say we're doing okay, I look back at like all the rings that I have in our records are on there, and I'm like, we only lost 9 games that whole year. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah.
But like my junior year, we got swept for the first time in my career. Tennessee just whooped our butt 3 games in a row. I've never seen Coach Rocha break a clipboard like she did in my whole life. No pitcher could keep it in the yard. And from that moment on, our Hannah Rogers just like turned into a different human being, and she worked so hard. So we ended up, winning in 2014. And I started a lot of those games, but not the big ones, Hannah did. But then this is just there's so much detail that could go into these
It's
stories,
okay.
but
It's great.
Yeah, go ahead.
4 years feels like a lifetime when you're in it, to be honest. But, I go into my senior year and I'm supposed to be, I guess I just assume that I'm going to be the one, right? All the things. And I go into Coach Walton's office December, our exit meetings into Christmas break. And at that point, our staff was me, Alicia Ocasio, and Delaney Gorley. And he's like, yeah, I see you, as our kind of like our third string right now. And I was like, what? Like, I was very taken aback by that. But when I look back and I think about that conversation as a coach now, I'm like, he's right. Like, I couldn't get through a lineup 3 times. Like, I just couldn't. My changeup was so average. It was not great. And without my off speed, the 3rd time through the lineup, I was just, getting hit. He's like, I just can't give you the ball every Friday and know we're coming up with a win every time. And I was like, bet. So I went home and I thought about it. And then in January, we talked about it again. And we decided that first base, we're just going to take it out because I just needed to. And we had a better first baseman than me. She was a lefty. She didn't hit as well as me, but she loved infield and I didn't, to be honest. It was fine. But pitching and hitting, I ended up letting that be my career. But if I could have just done that for my whole life, that would have been so nice. Anyway, so January of my senior year, Coach Rocha and I hit the bullpen and we tried 47 different changeups, probably 147 to be honest. Like every way we could think about slowing the ball down because I just went so hard. Like I did not know how to do that. And so we figured it out. January, I got a changeup. February season started and it literally changed my whole life. So
if I can, Lauren, what changeup did you end up going with?
It's just like a variation of a flip change. Like I think that I'm flipping my hand over and I'm spinning the ball backwards. Like that's really all it ended up being. It was something I didn't have to slow down for. It was something that with how fast and how powerful I was going, I had really good control over. So I just ended up being like turning my hand over really fast, flipping it and using my fingers to spin it. And so all of that work to go back to something like that is kind of funny. But it really ended up changing the trajectory of my entire senior year. I can't even stress enough how much I'm passionate about changeups after that. So,
well, and that's a funny thing. Yeah, that's a funny thing too, because of course everybody's obsessed with speed. And I certainly, like to promote my kids and, I've had a couple of kids hit a new personal best last night and all excited to tell their stories. But it's funny just to hear that for you, the life-changing thing wasn't throwing 70 miles an hour. It was being able to not throw 70 miles an hour and look like you were doing it.
100%. I also there's nothing wrong with people wanting to get the most out of their speed, and reach their ceiling of what their body and everything is capable of. But at the end of the day, when you're watching these college softball games, to me, the girls that are, if you're not a Nigeria Kennedy, if you're not a Jordy Ball, so many of these programs, their best pitchers who are getting the best people out are pitchers who change speeds, who are not hitting the 64. It's incredible what these spinny pitchers are doing right now. And I'm just so envious of them. And how much people are going to their staffs and changing, because at the end of the day, so everyone Division I, right, the higher levels, and not even everyone in Division I, it's not normal to throw 65. That's not super common. I think that social media can make it feel super common, but it's not. And what's your game speed? It's probably different from what you just posted on Twitter anyway. But changing speeds and hitting your spots literally will keep you successful every single time. I have no room to argue it. That argument to me is just what it is. You can throw as hard as you want, but if you cannot put it where you want and you cannot throw a changeup, you won't be the best pitcher you can be.
You will not get an argument from Ken or I on that. That is absolutely for sure. We are 100% in line with you there. So That's why I was so excited to have you on this podcast. I know you've been doing lessons, and I want to get into some mechanics here shortly. I do want to ask you a little bit though about your experience in the National Pro Fastpitch. Give us a little bit of. It doesn't have to be super long, or it can be as long as you want. But tell us what your experience there, and how were the hitters there compared to even college.
Well, I flew to Dallas 3 days after the national championship. So I was probably exhausted. Let's be real. I pitched so much my senior year, and that season is so long. And I literally made it to the very end it could ever for my first game, and they really promoted the whole like Lauren Haeger, but the other pitcher that was pitching was Kat Osterman. So my whole life, obviously, there was so many of these girls I had looked up to. Kat Osterman was still playing for Pride. Natasha Watley was still playing for Pride. Kelly Kretschmann, Andrea Duran, like all these names. It's just insane. Like, and I'm, you know, a 22-year-old who thinks her crap don't stink because she just got done with the national championship and being on the highest of high. And now she has to pitch against, you know, these girls in the MPF where there's no bat rules. There's no, like, nothing like that anyway. So I'm pitching in my first, I go up to bat against Kat Osterman for the first time. I think I struck out on 3 pitches. I had never in my life seen a ball do that, ever. Never, not once. And so that was my experience. I think Andrea Duran hit a home run off me. I was like, that's awesome. Thanks. And then, I don't know, we ended up losing like 6-3, but I got a hit off Kat later on in the game, which was really cool for me. When I joined the league, USA softball, like softball wasn't in the Olympics. You couldn't play both. Like they did not have a good situation. So I denied my USA tryout because I can't play USA and not make any money. Like I had, my family didn't have it like that either. So I had to make sure that I was doing something to make money. So I chose to play.
Not that the NPF was paying big bucks by any means, but
right.
it was more than nothing.
For the summer. It was enough. You're right. Like it was enough for the summer. And then I had to go back to Florida anyway. So it was a summer thing. I can't say that I enjoyed my softball time in the NPF a ton. Like, I have a back injury. You just don't have the resources and stuff that you had in college. Could I have done it better? Yes. Could I have worked out more and all that kind of stuff? Cause I kind of stopped. I could have done better with taking care of myself. Yes. But I do think that the league as a whole just wasn't good when it came to all of that stuff. So that really hurt me. The structure of it was okay. Like I was, stretching behind a dugout on a 4-field complex. People are coming up and touching me. Like it is the highest high of like who I was. I was getting recognized and we go out to dinner and because my stuff was just getting played on ESPN over and over again. And so there was just no boundaries either. It was really weird. With people following me to the bathroom to change before the game, like that kind of stuff was weird. I didn't love that very much, but I will say that the people that I got to play with and the fun times that we had in the MPF are 100% like irreplaceable. Like I met some of my best friends in the MPF who playing in college, I hated their guts and I got to be on the same team with them and love them dearly to this day. So, and I got to play with some of my idols. I played against Monica Abbott all 4 years, like all these things I've gotten to do, travel everywhere to play. So my experience in the MPF was worth it, but I'm glad I stopped when I did. A, I was hurt, but B, it was my time to be done.
What do you think about the Athletes Unlimited? How do you feel about that?
I think it's awesome. I think that any professional softball league I'm a fan of. I sometimes just get discouraged when there's so many. Professional softball really, I want to be the biggest fan, but I just feel like it's just who's going to be the head honcho all the time. Like this league. And over all these years, I'm not even just talking about the ones now, just right. There's 100 different leagues, 100 different people running the leagues. And I'm just like, what's it going to give to where we just get to one? Because when the MPF stopped, it was heartbreaking, when the racers are done and all these teams with such history playing professional softball, like all that stuff, it made me sad. But hopefully one day in my lifetime, I see a league that I can, look at and be really proud of and be excited to watch. It's so exciting to watch now still because there's so many girls I still know and play, and it's just fun to watch them do their thing. But as a whole, I just wish we could just come together as one and just really make one that does everybody good.
Well, I think one of the smartest things that Athletes Unlimited did was they recognized, I'm going to get my soapbox a little bit here, but I always felt like NPF, the biggest problem they had was their most, their best audience or their most natural audience was always playing at the same time that the NPF was playing. So you've got these kids that are going to tournaments, especially, how it got to be every weekend, playing tournaments every weekend. They're there, sometimes starting Thursday or Friday, they go all the way through Sunday. And so they're not available to go to the NPF games. And then even if there's a Sunday evening game, by that time the families are tired, parents have to get ready to go back to work and all that kind of thing. So you're leaving out your biggest potential audience most of the time. And I think that Athletes Unlimited, I think they kind of finally recognized that and tried to more work around the summer travel season so that they could, draw the kids that are most likely to want to come to see a game to begin with and build that audience.
Absolutely. The TV, like they get ESPN now and all that kind of stuff, that obviously makes a huge difference. Just getting, so people can actually follow the players they followed in college. Like there's that too. And continue that, audience following these players that they fell in love with. And the NPF, we did, do a couple times in the summer, go to some bigger tournaments and play. Just like we went to Colorado and played there. We played a bunch of games in Colorado. We played some in Kansas City. So the last couple years I was in, we had full stadiums of girls, which was cool. But you're right in that perspective. I'm not like a business lady by any means. So when it comes to strategy and stuff like that, I don't know. That's not for me. That's someone else's job. But I just think that the more eyes you can get on it, obviously the better. And TV is the best way to do that right now because that's what everybody watches anyway. So whatever their strategy is, I hope it works because I'm ready to be a full-on fan.
Absolutely. I think we all are. Mm-hmm. So after your playing days, if we can, talk about your transition into coaching. Now you're doing both. You are a travel ball coach and you are an instructor. So what were some of the challenges when you first started out as, travel ball coach and instructor?
Challenges for me when I first started coaching. So when I was done playing, I was still giving lessons in the off season. So I started giving lessons. Now it's almost been a decade probably. But at first it was hard because I just didn't understand why you couldn't do that after I told you to do it. There's that. Like because you're an elite athlete and it's something I was always able to do. And then I was like, you need to get your leg up higher. And then she couldn't do it. I'll never forget it. And she was like, well, do you have like a drill to like get my leg up higher? And I was like, no, just like get your leg up higher. Right. So I didn't really, that was hard. Like to learn how to, teach those things to people who can't feel them was hard for me. But over time, just getting to be creative and learning how each kid learns has been such a fun, creative thing for me. But there's that part of giving lessons that was kind of hard for me. Dealing with parents at first was hard for me, just because you're a young woman in this, this field. And so there's a lot of dads and everything that I think take advantage of that. And you're kind of scared to kind of stand your ground. But it took me a couple years, but once my ground has been, it's there. Like we're not going to talk about this. You didn't do this. I did. So it is what it is. And not in a way that's crazy, but you do have to be firm with the things you're talking about sometimes. That was hard at first. It's hard for every girl, I think, entering into this. And then the travel ball aspect of it was just, you can't talk to these kids how maybe your college coach talked to you. And so I think that was I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, why do you not want to win every time? Like that was really hard for me. But then I kind of had to step back and realize kids are different than the kids that I was and I played with and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of have to grow and change when it comes to the generations that are coming through too. So I would say those are 3 challenges that I went through for sure.
Are you coaching elite level travel or A level, B level?
Yeah. So I've coached with the same head coach, Kevin Hind, on Team NC Hind for 5 years. So I've coached with him only in travel ball. He is the most calm, positive, kind human and coach ever. Like he's the best man ever. And I wouldn't be able to coach travel with anyone else. So he's really helped balance me out. I think I've helped him and he's helped me in so many different ways as people. He's also just turned into like one of my greatest friends, but the team that I play now, like coach, I started when they were first year 14s. And it's taken a long time to get to this elite level that we are. But yes, all of our girls are committed to Division I schools. I think we have 5 committed to North Carolina, UNC, LSU, Florida State. Like we have some, really big programs there's so many I can't even think about right now. We just graduated some to Tennessee and to, Louisiana Tech and all these schools. So I think that it's taken a while to get here, but we're here now, and it's been really fun.
So it sounds like they weren't always an elite thing. You kind of had to grow them.
Yeah, I mean, we started out with the team. Most of the girls were 2023s in when we were 14, but the head coach's daughter was a 2025. So we had a full team of 2023s and then Anna. And so we got the girls through the 2023s, all the thing, and then we had Anna. And so we kind of had to build over the last 2 years, like a roster that's going to, keep the level of travel ball that we want to around Anaheim. She's going to Florida State, so she's very, very good. And so we kind of have to build a team around that level to keep going. And so she's a senior this year, so it's the end of her travel ball career, and we'll see what happens next.
How important do you think it is as a coach to continue to learn? I mean, it'd be very easy to say, hey, I won a national title. I did all of these wonderful things. So I know what I'm doing, and I'm just going to teach what I was taught.
I don't think that's a definition of a good coach at all. If you're not evolving with the times, then you're just someone who's stuck where you were. I just never want to be that. I feel like I've, coached around this area with people that are that way. And I'm like, when you turn on TV and you see her pitching like that, and you're paying someone to teach you something that's not that. I don't get how you can't evolve. And we didn't have slow motion video back in the day, but now we do. it's right in front of your eyes. So try to feel like you can evolve a little bit with it. I think if any elite college coach has had to say the same thing, if, Coach Walton or Coach, Patty 17 Natty Patty is coaching the same way she was back in the day, they wouldn't have been so successful all these times. But you have to evolve. I think great coaches do that. So
awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we're going to get into the mechanics side now, if you don't mind, Lauren, because I want to talk to you about a post that you made in February of 2019. It has absolutely resonated with me and some of the other pitching coaches that Ken and I collaborate with. And it's stuff that we see when we still, like you just talked about it, we have slow-mo video, but yet we're still seeing things that are being thought, they think or they're teaching the way that they think they're doing things. Do you remember that post that you made? It was more feel versus real. You posted a video of yourself. Can explain that to some people, like wrist flicks, things like that. Why should the ball be facing second base and snapping up? Can you get into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I just didn't because these are things that I was taught when I was 10, and that was 22 years ago. We have got to realize that softball is evolving every 5 years. It's so different. And it goes through trends and phases of we'll call it trends of what's popular at the time. But at the end of the day, we have this resource of slow motion video, and you have a girl who's warming up a certain way, and I'll watch her warm up and I'm like, but then she goes to throw and she doesn't do any of those things. And so I'm just kind of that you don't even do that, right? And she's like, what? And just because it's been a routine that's been there for years and years and years. And it's we can adjust our warm up and our Ks and our snaps and all those kinds of things to kind of match what we're doing, because that can only help you, right? So I guess when I started coaching in, giving lessons and stuff and moving here specifically, I made that post a year after I moved here. And pitching was 10 years behind here when I moved here. It was, this isn't, no offense to anyone in the room, but there was an old man, 89-year-old man, still giving pitching lessons a couple hours away, which is great. at the end of the day, there were some things that were being taught that I was he's 89, we got to turn, or just you turn the TV on, you watch your favorite girl pitching, and then you're going to pitching lessons and you're not doing that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But then there was a couple other pitching instructors and they never even, they didn't pitch in college, that kind of thing. So it's not a knock. I'm so happy that they were, coaching. I hope there's always girls coaching in this, sport and all the things, but that kind of really inspired that post just because of where I was at the time and how far behind pitching was. And every time someone came to lessons, it's almost like they looked at me like, what? Because they were so used to a certain way. And there's a few that I think scared away. They came back and I had them for 6 years, and now we joke about it now. But at first it was shocking because I was basically like, everything you're doing is not right, but and the easiest in trying to be, ease onto that as much as possible. But that's what kind of inspired that post.
Well, and it's funny that you tell that story because not too long ago, I had a girl that was starting with me. She had been taking lessons from someone who had attended a local D1 school, had been in the Women's College World Series. Actually, the year I happened to go there for the NFCA Coaches College for the, analysis and all that stuff. So I actually had video of her former instructor who decided not to give lessons anymore. So I asked, what did you learn? And, it was the usual wrist flicks and turn the ball towards second base and pull your hand up and all those other things. And I said, okay, well, let's take a look at what your pitching coach actually did. And I just kind of went through the video and said, she didn't do any of those things, so this is what I want to teach you is I want to teach you what she was doing and, kind of how that works. But it always shocks me that there are so many who don't ever go back and apparently look at a video of themselves and how they're pitching. So I think that that's really great for you to be able to say, yeah, well, I was taught this, but, really when I look at it, I didn't use any of it. And, I want to teach what worked rather than just kind of blindly repeat whatever I was told when I was 10 years old.
I'm grateful for my athleticism in that way too, because what I was taught when I was 10 would not have given me the foundation to be who I was in college. And I think that your body pitching, I always say this is like, pitching is hard, but it should never feel hard. Like nothing you're doing should ever feel like you're going against what feels good or feels like it should feel easy. Like it's not emotion that should hurt. It's not emotion that should, everything you do should feel good. So
right. Shouldn't feel forced.
No, nothing should. And so, and when you're pitching and going, it doesn't even look like you're trying, to be honest. Like so many of these pitchers, they don't even look like they're trying because everything's just so in sequence and it just looks so pretty, right? Anyway, and so I think that I'm so grateful for my athleticism that just kind of did that. But that's not the case for everybody. There's things that I have to teach all the time that I'm like, I never had to learn that because my body just did it. So that's been kind of fun, but it's also been challenging at times.
I feel like too, sometimes, these coaches are teaching the athlete out of them with some of the things that they're forcing them to do. And I feel like they're so restrictive in some of the movements that they're making these kids do. And so I feel like what you're talking about, letting the body move and letting it be efficient and transferring energy, things like that. Like, I feel like I'll get some of these kids that come in, I'm sure Ken will tell you the same thing, that they've just coached the athlete out of these kids. And it's like, we got to let things move the way they're supposed to move and your body do the things that they're supposed to be doing. That a lot of times for me, first thing I ask them is, how did that feel? Right? Like, I feel like if that doesn't feel good, it's probably not going to be something that we want to continue to do. So I feel like, it's just, we got to stop coaching the athlete out of some of these kids. So,
yeah. And I think there's obviously levels to that. Like when they're so young, like they don't know what they're doing anyway. So there's a lot more structure and a foundation. I think that, but as they get older, once they, hit those absolutes that kind of have to happen in a pitching motion and those things that are important to keep you safe, important to keep you efficient, like those little movements when they're younger. Once they hit high school, I give them more freedom. Like, it's not like you have to be in this cookie cutter thing, but there are some things that we need to have control over. But at the end of the day, like once they get older, it's really just maintaining those things and then learning new things to go along with it.
Yeah, we tend to call those core principles, just the things that you really need to do. But even within that, there's a range. It doesn't have to be exactly one way. Yeah, it's funny when I see a girl who's stiff, a lot of times I just look at her and I go, I am a robot.
Lauren,
dad jokes left and right here, huh?
Oh, no doubt. They only get better. Let me tell you.
I'm sure
they only get better. Real quick, how do you feel about some of these instructors teaching the full-on leap right now? And I'm not talking about, being airborne, right, and landing on the front foot and throwing the ball. I'm talking about jumping off, both feet in the air, landing on the back foot, getting possibly a secondary push or replant, if you will. There are people that are having kids jump off of boxes. How do you feel about that?
So my personal experience when I went into the league, I was like, this thing is legal now. I want to try, because internationally crow hopping was legal, which is 100% different than the leap in my opinion. And so I tried it once. I literally almost tore my ACL. It was a horrible idea. So I tried it once and I said, never mind, everything's fine. So there's my personal experience with trying it. And at the end of the day, once I turn the TV on and you have the best pitcher in the nation doing that, that's when I'll give it a chance. But until that day, the leap rule was not put in for that. The leap rule was put in so if a girl's back foot literally left the ground this much, it wasn't a legal pitch.
Right.
Once you start changing the mechanics and jumping and all that kind of stuff, like I can't even get girls to like drag in a straight line. I could not even imagine trying to teach a young girl something like that. And not expecting them to get hurt or whatever. But at the end of the day, that rule was not put in for that. That's not what it was for. I now don't have a single issue with if a girl's back foot and mechanically look right, but she leaves the air a little bit, like it's legal, like fine, but we're not going to turn our hips and turn our foot and land like this. Like we're not changing that. So that's kind of my opinion on it. I don't think that it's there to what people think it is yet. Like in college softball, like where are those girls at? I don't see them. They're not there. So I'm not going to change unless the whole world changes at this point.
Yep.
And I talk to some of my pitching friends that are very, well known in the pitching world. And we send things to each other all the time. And we're like, what is that? Like, can she throw strike or no? Like and at some point it's like, what's more important here? But anyway, I think everyone could kind of go on and on about it.
Yep. Yeah. That pitching coach group that Jay and I are a part of, we do a lot of that too. We'll see either a crazy drill being done that seems to have no purpose, or you'll see something in a game. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, to get TikTok clicks and all of that. I always say the internet's a hungry beast and you have to keep feeding it stuff. And pretty soon you're feeding it junk.
Truth.
So, yeah, here's a kind of a controversial question as well. I think that there's, I certainly hear about pitching coaches, and I'm sure you do too, that who claim to be teaching 8 pitches to a 10-year-old. I mean, how many pitches did you use in college, and how many do you think a pitcher really needs?
Are there 8 pitches in softball? I don't even think there is. It's not controversial to me at all because I am very passionate about this question in my lessons and everything, and this is one of those things that at the beginning when I started giving lessons that I had to be really firm on and learn how to be really firm on and just say, that is not my style. Like, that's not what you're going to get from me. If you want a solid foundation and to understand that this is a marathon and not a sprint, like I'm your girl. If that's not what you want, like it's just not going to work. But I had 4 pitches. I had a backdoor, I had a curveball, I had a rise ball, and I had a changeup, and that was it. That's all I threw. I could put them wherever I wanted, which makes it look like it's all these other pitches when it's literally not. You're just hitting different targets with it a little bit. I think I had a really great pitching coach in college, Coach Rocha, obviously Jen Rocha. She's a pitching coach at Oklahoma now, but even Coach Walton with his pitching experience, he was like, at the end of the day, I need you to throw to the area that I give you. Like, that is called. Like, it's not that crazy. Like, we have to, hit our spots and all that kind of stuff. But the way that I kind of structure it is like, if I get them at 10. So now that I've been doing this long enough, I've had girls from literally 10 and now they are committed to play in college. So like, we've gone through the whole process together of learning these pitches. And once our foundation is set and we can throw a fastball to every location and we can throw a changeup in any count that is consistent and I don't have to tell you anything anymore, then I know it's time. And I'm not opposed to teaching 10-year-old, like people who are still 35 feet with a small ball pitches, but I just feel like it all has to change anyway when you move back 5 feet with a big ball. So I have probably taught 2 10-year-olds the start of a curveball ever in my entire pitch. Like once we get back to 12U and you're getting used to the big ball and you're getting used to 40 feet and you're still able to hit your spots and you're still able to throw your changeup, which probably needs to be adjusted with a big ball anyway, because it's a whole thing. Because some of them are still really small, like Then we talk about our first pitch, and, you know, people give me a hard time about it, and they're like, we want it. And I'm like, how can I feel like I'm doing you a disservice if I'm giving you this thing that I know in my heart you're not ready for. And my goal as a pitching instructor is to make your life easier, not harder. This will make your life harder if we try to do this right now, and you will get more frustrated. So it's just not time.
Yeah. And I'm just curious about it because I know I get this. I'm sure Jay gets it as well, where you've got a kid who's 10 or 11 and, you know, the parents come in and say, well, you know, this other girl on her team, you know, she can throw a screwball and she can throw a rise ball and she's throwing this and throwing that. And I mean, my reaction to it always is, let me see the spin.
Well, it's just, I said they all just do the same thing. They're just fastballs at all these locations. Right. They're not real. They don't even know how to use their fingers yet. Like the connection with their brain and their fingers isn't even there yet. Like they don't know, and they're not putting enough practice in to even learn a spin, and they're just not ready. And pitching is such a marathon. So I would say on average, it's between 6 months and a year with the girls that I'm like working with, where they even learn another. It's like almost they're working on something for 6 months to a year, depending on their athleticism and how much they're practicing, because that's obvious. Right. You come into lessons like if you practice that week, but till they even learn another one. Like it is such on the pace of all the girls I've been giving lessons to, like by 8th grade, they have everything probably but their rise ball, because at the end of the day, sometimes like it's just they don't have enough speed to like really make it for real. So, you know, moving into high school, they probably have one more pitch to learn, and it's only 4. Like it's not 7. I don't even know what those 7 are. I don't even know how to teach those. Like you can't even hit your spot. So like why? Anyway, I could really, same with y'all, kind of go on and on. But I've found that finding your group of people who actually like believe in that, and the ones that have are so thankful now that they've been with me for so long, and we joke about it all the time. And it's been really fun to see those people who've bought into that process instead of just like wanting so fast, comparing themselves to others, all the things I said. But do they hit their spots? No. Do they actually spin it right? No. Do they have a good changeup? No. So then I'm like, why are you comparing yourself to her anyway? But whatever.
Right.
That's so good though, Lauren. And people need to hear that more, right? I think, again, it's like, it's the great race. And I feel like sometimes, you know, people are doing these kids a disservice by trying to just keep them there and teach them 8 pitches that none of them spin correctly at all. And I think that's what really separates, you know, really good coaches like you've talked about, is like really being able to break it down. Is the ball spinning correctly, right? Are we being loose? Are we being resistant? Like you talked about it, your core, your stability, your foundation, is that there first? Because without that foundation, those pitches aren't going to move the right way anyway.
Nothing's going to work anyway. So and the other part of that I talk about with them too is like, when I get these girls, I kid you not, I had somebody come to me that said they had 11 pitches. She was 15.
That's a record.
Backdoor drop. I got off speed backdoor drop. They all just look like drop in and out. Like it wasn't. Yeah. And I in the nicest way possible was just like, please do not walk into a college camp and say that. Like just. I want you to be taken seriously when you walk in there, and when you say you have that, that's not real. And they all look the same. That's not real. I want you to throw a curveball and the coach be like, that's a curveball. And then you say, I have a drop ball, and they watch your drop ball and it's a drop ball and a changeup and all these things. Because we go in there, and if you say you have 6 pitches and you're 12, like they're not going to take you seriously. They're just not, because they know that that's not usually a thing anyway. So I can't say it's impossible, because there's some freaky girls out there that can do some things. Like there's just some tremendous athletes out there that learn things quickly and all the things, but it is not normal to have that.
Yeah. I remember being at a tryout, with the program I was at, and they were measuring, I think it was about a 16-year-old, measuring her with a rev fire. And they were all oohing and ahhing about how fast her curveball was spinning. She was getting these tremendous spin rates. And I just looked at these guys, and I didn't know them that well, but, I looked at them and I go, has anybody actually watched the ball? That thing, it's spinning over the top. It's not a curveball. Doesn't matter how fast it's spinning. If you're trying to throw a curveball and it's spinning 12-6, that's not a curveball.
That's not a curve. Yeah. I'm like, teaching them even how to recognize that on their own. I'm like, did you watch it spin? And they're like, I can't see that. And I said, pay attention. Like, you can watch and be able to adjust on your own just by looking at the ball that after you threw it. Like, there's so much of that. I don't even feel like they even look at that. Right. So we have to talk about that too. And it just helps them when, I'm not standing there. Like, I want to give them all the tools that they know when I'm not there. I don't even want to be there. Like, I just want you to be able to do all of this on your own too.
Yep. Be your own pitching coach.
Sorry, my dog is.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
He's like getting antsy. He's like, what
so
are you doing?
I don't want to take up any more of your time because this could go on for days. And
right.
I can't thank you enough for being on here today. This is amazing. I definitely wanted to pick your brain. Just if you can, what's some future plans? Is college coaching something you're thinking about? Are you still doing clinics with Amanda Scarborough? I know she's had you with her a couple times, I believe, doing some clinics. Tell us what the future holds for you.
So I'm kind of in that point in my life where I am kind of like, what do I want to do when I grow up? I know that lessons aren't going to last a lifetime. But I don't know about the college thing. I really love living in Charlotte. And to be honest, when you're a college coach, you move around every year. Like, you're always trying to up and do something better for your career and that kind of thing. And I don't know if that's the life I want to live right now. But so I'm not really sure, but I love like teaching younger kids. Like, I really do. The 10U to middle school. I love middle schoolers. They're my favorite age that I coach. They don't get enough credit. I think they're hilarious. Yeah. They don't know everything yet, but they know things. So you can kind of talk to them and they're just funny. They're still innocent almost, but
they're starting to get that little bit of sass to them,
they're hilarious. Yeah. They are hilarious. I just love them so much. Anyway,
I was just going to share, I have a couple of girls that started with them when they were probably about 12 or so, 11 or 12. And, at that point, the parents kind of dominated them, told them what to do. Well, now they're, 16 and the parent says something and they just snap back. And it's so funny to listen to.
I have a couple that are sassy, but they're fast. I'm like, how do you come up with that? You're so fast. You're like 11. Like, how do you even know how to say that to me? And I genuinely just die laughing. They're hilarious. But I definitely want to stay in youth sports. Where am I going to be for the rest of my life? I don't know. I love Charlotte, but my whole family's in Phoenix still. So who knows in 10 years where I'll end up. But I think working in youth sports is kind of where I want to stay. I love it. I don't know if I'm going to coach travel ball for the rest of my life either. But as of now, I really like where I am. And I do feel like a new chapter is probably coming at some point soon in the next 5 years. But we'll kind of see where that goes or what that looks like or where I am. I don't even know. Unfortunately, I wish I knew, but like, do we ever know? No.
Yeah.
Entering my 30s, I've had a really interesting entrance to my 30s where I've had to change a lot of things about my life. A lot of tragedies have happened as of lately in the last 3 years, not to like take it down, but like my parents passed away. My grandma passed away last week. Like, I just have a lot of things happening in my life where who knows where my next shift is going to be. So I don't know. Does anybody know? No. It's fine.
I'm pretty old and I'm still taking it, day to day, week to week. See where the wind blows me.
We're still trying to figure it out.
No expectations equals no disappointment. So
exactly.
Here we are.
Yeah. Awesome. So go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to probably ask the same question you were, which is, so people who are, in that Charlotte area, people who are listening, or maybe they want to, travel to see you now and then, where can they get information about you and getting lessons set up and all of that?
So you can visit the softballproject.com, where you'll be able to sign up for lessons and that kind of thing. My social media is something that, anyone can follow at lhaeger17 on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. And then any DMs or anything about lessons or online lessons, or not a lot of people ask because I guess they just don't assume. But when people ask, I very much say yes a lot. That's how I started coaching travel ball. And all of those platforms, you can get a hold of me.
Awesome. Lauren, thank you again so much for your time today. We absolutely appreciate all the wisdom and information you shared with us from your career onto the instructional stuff. Is there anything you want to close with, or give anybody a shout out or anything like that?
No, I just want to close with thank you so much for having me. I love getting to talk about this stuff. Transitioning from player to coach is something that, you don't really realize it's happening, but when it happens, you look back on playing and have such a different perspective. So that's been really fun. So thank you for letting me talk about some things I'm passionate about on a platform where hopefully it reaches some folks.
Well, we really appreciate it for sure. And that transition from player to coach, you go back. I always think everything is reversed in life. You should really be a coach first, and think of how much better of a player you would have been if you knew what you know now as a coach.
I didn't know anything. I thought I knew everything. You don't know anything. So there's that. And they really can tell if you practiced or not. I thought that was a hoax. I thought that was fake. I was like, they don't know. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's all fake.
All righty. Jay, you want to take us out?
Ken, I'm going to let you take us out. You got the radio voice, buddy.
All right. Well, at least I fake it pretty well. So anyway, yes, Lauren, thank you so much. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, we appreciate everybody listening. If you have questions, put them in the comments. You have thoughts, you want to add anything along, we certainly want everybody out there to participate. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you soon.